Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Franchise Tagged Podcast, Season 2, Episode 14. Go check out the Spotify. Always got to plug it at the start of these episodes because we will forget to. Otherwise, going to do things how we normally do. Quick game-by-game recap. This was recapping the Thanksgiving games. Those were fun. The Black Friday games, Sunday games, all that stuff. Then we are going to talk Patriots, kind of how we did talk Lions 2 weeks ago. And then we will get into our PickEms recap for this past week, and then the stocks, and then the pick'ems for next week, and that is our episode.
All right, I'll kick us off because Homer over here. I'll kick us off with the first game of Thanksgiving. We had the Bears at the Lions, and oh my gosh, I think the whole game as a whole is very much ignored in relation to the last minute of the game and how that went for the Bears. There was a great strong opening for the Lions first half. Believe it was a shutout, or they might have allowed a score right towards the end. Believe it was a shutout first half. And then really let the Bears get back into it. Started their scoring going down the field, getting points in those second half drives they had. And then the offense kind of wasn't able to get there. There was a couple of turnovers on downs for going forward on fourths. But late in the game there, on Thanksgiving, the Bears' ex-former head coach made a very questionable decision, defended his very questionable decision after the fact. And what do you have to say on Eberflus getting out of Chicago?
Yeah, it was only a matter of time. I think it's unfortunate that it perpetuates the cycle of draft a rookie quarterback, he shows a little bit of promise, you fire his head coach, you go on a head coach search, you hire the wrong guy, you stick by him for a couple of years, he ruins the quarterback. They did it with Trubisky, they did it with Fields, and we're seeing the early stages of that with Caleb, but the hope is that they don't make the wrong hire this time.
Yeah.
And then we get to see an NFC North that is quite literally 4 very worthy playoff caliber teams for the next several years. I don't know. I'm not a Eberflus fan. I was hopeful for him entering the season. I thought he was dealt a really nice hand of cards with Caleb and with the offense that they had built, but clearly it was not done correctly. He made poor decisions throughout his coaching career. This season he was 0 for 5 on challenges. He did not have a single correctly thrown challenge flag. And you may be saying to yourself, Mr. FTP Anderson, but didn't he throw a challenge flag this past game on an incomplete pass that was called incomplete? He did, but it was replay assist, so the challenge didn't count. Which means that his record of challenges were really bad. And that was this game when I texted you and I was like, here comes the Eberflus challenge flag, and it was before he had thrown it, but it was just such an obvious, like, they had made the right call. And he's like,
yeah, I can't remember the exact play, but the first challenge he threw in the game was like, oh, this should not be challenged whatsoever. This is the most concrete thing ever. And then it's like, oh, look at the flag on the floor.
Well, it's a big play.
It's a big play.
We should challenge it. And you know what? For what it's worth, Gerard Mayo should have challenged a couple plays or a play in the Patriots game. There was a pass called a completion, definitely not a completion, and that was part of what led to us losing. So I don't really have a lot of ground to take on this issue because my coach got the same problems, just in the opposite direction.
Yeah, that's fair. Moving on with the Thanksgiving games, because there's a lot of talk around Lions injuries and such, and we've kind of been talking on that as that went through the whole year. So I don't think there's a huge point in piling onto that now. There's a couple of new additions that are interesting to say the least. There's even rumors that we're calling people that are retired and saying, please come play for us. It's
Stephen Tulloch.
There's a couple of bad looks in the Lions health department of defense, but we can move on to quickly touch on the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving. Yeah.
They won. Yeah. Congrats.
It's as expected.
We them boys again, I guess.
But Onto a narrative that was kind of proven. If you want to touch on the night game of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this was Dolphins Packers in Lambeau, or at Lambeau, I guess, in Green Bay. And last week when we were talking about it, I was like, look, Tua had that like semi-viral reporter like question and answer, like his interview. He was like, yeah, I'm looking to eliminate these narratives, and I know that it's like trendy or popular to say whatever and to say that I'm not good in the cold, but I'm looking to fix that. And nope. Mm-mm. I said it last week. I think you agreed with me. I was like, no, there's a reason the narrative exists. It's because he's not good in the cold. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I feel like McDaniels is getting memed on extra hard because he had like the "I wish it was colder" shirts he was wearing. There was just he was really like diving deep into like the narrative there, and then they didn't exactly. It wasn't even like competitive enough where you could be like, oh wow, no, they played really good in the cold. This is just how this one fell. No, they looked bad, played pretty rough, and it's definitely a strong home field advantage for those northern teams to host games, especially late in the year.
Definitely, and especially against the southern teams, like the southernmost team in the league.
Yeah,
we saw it last year in the playoffs when the Chiefs got home field against the Dolphins, and Dolphins couldn't do anything because it was wind chills of -20 or something like that. Like,
damn.
Yeah, then that's basically it for Thanksgiving. There wasn't too much going on there. We hope you all had a wonderful family turkey day. And on
I
Black
hit
Friday,
the fattest nap during Cowboys and Giants. That was a great game, perfectly lined up right at the end of, the Lions one. I'm full belly, knocked the hell out for the Giants Cowboys. So great timing, good scheduling there, NFL. On to Black Friday.
yeah, this was, man. I've oh my god, man, take the floor, please.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll touch on this one. The Chiefs won in the most absolute absurd of measures. Not because of anything they did, not because of, oh wow, a Hail Mary that was caught. No, simply because, and this was spoke about, after that game, of like, wow, the two top seeds just won off the dumbest plays by their opponents. It's not anything the teams themselves did to win that game. It was the Bears letting 35 seconds run off the clock for no damn reason. And then it was the Chiefs watching as Jackson Powers-Johnson snapped the ball into Aiden O'Connell's chest when Aiden O'Connell was not looking, resulting in a fumble, resulting in it being recovered by the Chiefs, and then game's over, kneel it out.
Yeah.
And there was like a big question mark about like why this happened, and I know you weren't watching it, but did you see all of this discourse about what happened to lead to
the
this?
Discourse was because one of the refs ran in and was like doing false start.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like did the whole like how they do like the ref explanations for not that, but like after the game when they like release their explanation, and it's like, okay, I guess you're correct, but like, come on, like that's not how things work. And that's exactly how I felt about this. It was like, well, because it was this time in the game and this also occurred during the play, we couldn't actually call a false start. So actually it wasn't a false start, despite us saying it was a false start and us believing that. It was it was just obnoxious to watch. And it's been continuously obnoxious to watch all these just random weird rules that we only learn about because the Chiefs win the games on them. And it was just, I just am tired of the refs having such a huge impact and them not having things figured out. It's like your entire job is to have the things figured out so you can tell us what's going on, not so you can say, well, we kind of know what's going on, so we're going to call this.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to be honest.
Gonna check the rule
I was so
game.
confused by the whole, like, oh, well, they called a false start. He's signaling false start, so therefore, it's like, no, there was no false start. The entire offensive line moved on the snap at the same time because they were all ready. The issue that was had was the players out wide were not set. So it's not a false start because no one's moving early on the snap, because no one's set at the snap. So that's why it's kind of that illegal shift. And like watching it, I was like, why are they thinking it's a false start? And then they're talking that whole time, delegating it. And I guess that was probably the conversation had by the refs was, well, how do you call a false start when everyone moves simultaneously, but the players out wide are not in their set positions because they're not moving forward. They're moving forward, but not past the line of scrimmage. So there's it's confusing in that aspect, but like watching it, I was like, this isn't a false start. It's not like you can't call a false start on the center for snapping the ball if everyone around them also moves as if the ball is being snapped. And it was kind of it was an issue with the silent count. Who knows why? Who knows what happened there? But Aiden O'Connell was looking out to make sure people were set out wide, and then the offensive line was set. The guard gave the center the tap as they usually would do in the silent count, and that's the indicator of, okay, we're snapping the ball and all of us offensive line are moving. And it was like, okay, clearly there was like some miscommunication probably on a wide receiver's end where wide receiver was lined up wrong and Aiden O'Connell's looking out there because he notices he's lined up wrong, and then the ball snapped into his chest. And it's an unfortunate way to lose, but it's kind of the way you lose in those tight games when you're away. Like, if you're a team that isn't good, you're going to make a mistake, and you're going to make a mistake on the road playing silent count in a loud environment. So, unfortunate for the Raiders because they really could have pulled that out. But also, I feel that the discourse of like the refs won this game for the Chiefs is also weird because the Raiders missed 3 field goals from that range. And they were going to, if they called the false start, which I don't think would have been the correct call, but if they called a foul and there wasn't a fumble or whatever and they moved backwards, I'm not really sure that's indicative of like, oh, they're going to be winning this game. I wouldn't have that presumption after that play.
Yep. And then on to the Sunday games, the Falcons, man, it's rough watching Kirk Cousins and his lofty passes that just don't find their targets.
Yep.
I think it's a very real possibility that he is benched at some point because they ain't winning, and they have the team to win. They have the players. They have the offensive firepower. Their defense is doing okay. I mean, their pass rush is not.
They have no pass rush. Yeah. Yeah, they're sitting at 6-6. I think they get far enough below 500. Like, let's see.
The division is wide open for them. There is no solidified dog in the NFC South. So why not see what you got in the in Michael Penix after investing a top 10 pick in him and go from there? Or was it?
Yeah, 8th. He was 8th.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was the whole oh wow, they're picking 8th again, and an offensive weapon. Yeah, I think the Falcons, like, they're 6-6, they're top of the division, but you get to being 6-8, and now you're like 3rd in the division, 4th in the division. Well, actually, no, that's not possible in this division. Probably 2nd or 3rd if they drop the next 2. But yeah, like, they're going to maybe look to make that change, but I don't see it happening like in the next 2 weeks because you're still at the top and you would still want to have the trust in your starting quarterback at that point in time. Whereas, then you'll be like, all right, well, we're going to take Kirk out and we're going to let the young guy get some reps because at this point of the season, this late in the year, we would need, and then it's like empty scroll, like open scroll, and it rolls and it goes out the door of like, we would need all of these things to happen to make playoffs. Like, that's when you just put in Penix.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that if Kirk has another rough showing, we could see him benched during a game, and it would have to be a really rough start. But if he can't get the ball to his target, if he's like 2 of 7 and 2 picks or a pick, and he's just not able to properly run the offense, why would you keep him out there? Especially if you've got somebody like the biggest issue that Kirk had was all of his passes were just lofty, and it wasn't there was no zip on the ball. And that's Penix's biggest thing, is that he puts zip on the ball and gets it to where it needs to go real fast. So why would you not fix the issue that your quarterback is having with the player that can fix that issue. But
Yeah.
I really don't think that Kirk will be starting all of next year. I think that maybe he starts a couple games if he turns things around this season, but I think there's also a very real possibility that he does not end up finishing this season as the starter.
Yeah, it kind of is. It makes the whole Penix pick even more confusing because like you go out and you get Kirk Cousins, so then you're presuming okay, Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy going forward, and there's never going to be questions about benching him. But then you get the quarterback that could be the successor, and now you're thinking about oh maybe we should see the successor sooner than later, and so now you're just going to have Kirk's contract sitting on your roster, as opposed to like oh you could have taken the successor and let the successor play. Like he'll get the game reps, he'll learn, and then you'll grow with him. But it's kind of like a weird toss up at this point with where we could see Kirk go, or if he stays in the starting lineup, or if he's moved back, if he's a trade piece, because a lot of teams need quarterback. It'd be a whole question mark coming if we see Penix step into the starting lineup.
Yeah, well, the whole thing with the trade piece is the cap situation would be a little rough for the Falcons to take on the dead cap and everything. But they do have that 2-year out, so it may be, all right, let's get Penix in there. Let's have Kirk be the backup in case Penix gets hurt or in case something happens to him. If he's not doing well, then we still have Kirk. And then if he's good, we've got that 2-year out, so we can get out of the contract and everything. Did you have anything else to talk about for the Sunday during the day games?
I did not. No, I notably was like watching the games. I was like, these aren't really it. And I even thought like, okay, we got a lot of games to go over for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. I don't feel like I don't need to make such a focus on these Sunday games.
Okay. So Sunday Night Football was really headlined by the one play, the play where Josh Allen scored a touchdown on the lateral from Amari Cooper. And I've seen a lot of confusion about how that was scored, especially with respects to fantasy football and why it counted as a receiving and passing touchdown for Josh Allen. And so I just wanted to take a second and explain it because I really didn't understand it either. And so I thought about it a little bit more and looked a couple things up. So I always think about things, if there's any way that I can think about it and it's easier to understand, I will do that. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, what happens if a quarterback throws a pass, that receiver catches it, they lateral it to another receiver, and that receiver takes it for a touchdown? Well, that's a passing play, so it's not a rushing touchdown, because once the ball is thrown and caught, it is a passing play, so you're not going to have a rushing attempt on a passing play. That second receiver that caught the lateral, he would be getting yards, so those would have to be tracked, and since it's not a rushing play, it would have to be receiving yards. And if he scores a touchdown, that's a receiving touchdown. But he never caught the pass because there's not two throws on a play. It's only one throw. So Josh Allen threw the pass. He gets credited for the touchdown because after he throws the ball and it's caught, everything else goes down on the stat sheet as a pass from Josh Allen. Then he caught the lateral and gained the 7 yards that he needed. So he gets the 7 receiving yards because he gained those yards. Those yards need to be tracked, and he scored the touchdown. So he scored the receiving touchdown. It's a very odd scenario, but it's just like one thing that very rarely happens, another thing that happens pretty common, and then they're sandwiched together. So the Marcus Mariota play where he threw the ball, it was batted, he caught it, and he ran it in for a touchdown. So he threw a pass, caught the pass, and scored the touchdown. But add in a lateral in there, and that's what happened with the Josh Allen play.
Add in another guy.
Yeah. And I thought the post-game press conference was really funny because Amari Cooper was like, he was standing there. I was wondering what he was doing there. I thought he wanted the ball, so I gave him the ball.
I mean, yeah, you look at the play, he's out wide, and then Josh Allen runs all the way over there. I'd assume it's because he wanted to help out. He wanted that ball.
I think Josh said something about it being like I don't know if it was like a bad pass or he wanted to make sure like everything was fine with the play, so he ran over there to either like go push Amari Cooper forward or something, and then he was just standing there, and Amari Cooper was like,
yeah, it was a little behind him, so I'm sure there's a chance of a little worry of like possession of the ball there, not wanting to fumble or anything like that. So he got over there. And then I think we can get into Monday Night Football. And man, it really sucks that we had to watch Deshaun Watson play for the Browns for so damn long, because Jameson Winston just looks good in the jersey. Like, he looks like he was born to wear the Browns jersey. And he's playing really well for them. I think LASIK might need to start offering refunds soonish, but like he's doing things that Deshaun Watson couldn't dream of for the Browns. And Jerry Jeudy clearly is his connection, his guy. But on that flip side, a very strong team really faltered in this one because of the offense of the Browns. Like, the Broncos are top 5 defense in the league, and you're letting Jameis Winston and Jerry Jeudy, like, they're past their first team. They weren't extended by their first team because they weren't good. Very much not the guys you would expect to be torching a top defense. This was a interesting game, and I was shocked it came down to the wire like it did.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of funny stuff going on with Jameis Winston. He said in the press conference after the game, he said, "I know I'm better than this. I'm praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes."
Oh my gosh.
His 5-game pace as well, like his 5 games that he started in, his yardage pace is like over 5,500 passing yards if he had started the full season.
He's back to old school Jameis. He's 30 for 30.
Back to 30 for 30. Yeah. He's such an entertaining quarterback to watch, and he's the anti-Deshaun. He's in it for his guys. He will do literally anything he can on the football field if he thinks it might help the team. And he's out there for the love of the game. He's not out there to, he's like, oh, I got this contract, so I gotta go play, I guess. If the coaching staff asks me to run it, nah, I'm a quarterback. I came here to pass the ball. Jameis is like, hey, did you need me to play safety? I can do that. Did you linebacker? I got you there. D end, I can. I'm gonna rack up so many sacks.
I'll be on the scout team.
He's such a fun. Yeah, he's such a fun guy to watch. I'm so glad to see him succeeding right now. Succeeding, but succeeding.
Yeah, so not winning games, but playing well.
Sure.
Not the best. I mean, hey, 4 touchdowns, like 500-ish yards.
He threw 6 of them, actually.
Yes, he's just seeking deliverance at this point in time. Man, poor Jameis. You'd love to see him on a team that is a little more beloved than the Browns.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Jets Jameis Winston edits.
Make it happen. I don't know what the fuck their GM's name is, but make it happen.
Joe Douglas?
Yeah, no, he got fired. I don't know what the new guy's name is.
Well, they don't have one, so.
Fair enough, yeah. Guess you don't really mean to make roster moves right about now, huh?
Yeah, probably not. All right. And that's just gonna about do it for the game-by-game recap. And we can get into the Patriots segment if you're ready for that.
Full steam ahead, baby.
All right, 3, 2, 1. The Patriots in the past few years have gone from being a perennial powerhouse with Tom Brady to being eliminated from playoff contention during Week 13. So, why did that happen? What is the future looking like this season? And what do we need to do in the offseason to fix our issues and hope for a better next year? So, as I said, the Patriots are officially, as of today, eliminated from playoff contention. They were never going to make the playoffs after, probably Week 4. I was pretty sure they weren't. But it is official now. They cannot make playoffs. And there are a lot of issues on this team beyond just the offensive line or the weapons. However, picking Jalen Polk in the second round has been an awful look for us so far. Drake May has been a great draft pick on the completely opposite side of that. He's been wonderful and has shined. And the other big issue is the defense, which has regressed pretty significantly. And I would say it's a lot of it is injuries, but it's also just some defensive regression. But on those injuries, the main two on the defense are Jawan Bentley, who played 2 games and then was done for the year, and Christian Barmore, who had blood clots before the season, and he has now played in 3 games. So he came back a few weeks ago, and he is currently active. He's currently good to go, and he was held on the game-winning. I think it was the 2-point conversion. He was held. It was not called. So I'm a little tinge salty about that, but anywho.
Who was the player that just became active? I recall like last week you were talking about someone being healthy. Brisker? No,
Cole
that's
Strange
Prayers.
and Jabril Peppers.
Jabril Peppers. There it is. Okay, got it.
That's not a health thing. That's a, thing. Anyways, allegedly. Last year, right? I'm gonna cut that out. 3, 2, 1. Last year, along with Christian Gonzalez and his solid start to the season, but he got hurt. Jawan Bentley and Christian Barmore were the heart of the defense, and both have missed significant time. They have not played in a game together this year, and they will not play in a game together this year. And thus, the defense has significantly regressed, along with the fact that Gerard Mayo is not Bill Belichick and does not have insane ideas and tendencies on defense that keep the offenses guessing. He's not quite the same guy. I had hoped that he could be. I was wrong. I don't think it means that we need to fire Gerard Mayo. I don't love him as a head coach, but I also don't really know what the other options would be. I would like to get a better offensive mind, but Ben Johnson's probably going to be the Bears head coach, if not the 49ers, if they decide to move off of Shanahan. Like, he's going to have his pick of solid franchises that are really good, not, hey, we've got Drake May.
Yeah. I think definitely, like, with the way the team's shaping up, like, Gerard Mayo, the whole succession plan after Bill Belichick, like, it's probably not time to get rid of him yet, but you and me definitely share the same opinion of, like, offensive head coaches are the way to do things. It's the easier route because otherwise you're going to lose your offensive production anytime you have offensive production because your OC is going to get poached. So I see your point there with, like, making the change, and honestly, I think that let the team build a little more and then get a good head coach, kind of like, you want to be a good enough franchise, a good enough roster to attract the Ben Johnsons to come coach for you, whereas it's going to be more difficult to get that big of a signing at head coach when the offense is looking the way it is.
Yeah, my hope is that Brian Dable gets fired by the Giants and we bring him in as an offensive coordinator or assistant of some sort. That would be wonderful. I think he's doing a lot with very, very little in New York. Mm-hmm. So any semblance of a professional football team being shown by the Giants is just a glorious plus for him. And I've got some stats here from Pro Football Reference. They have the SRS. It's their simple rating system, and it basically just puts a number on offensive rating, and it's relative to 0, so negative, bad, positive, good. The 2007 Patriots were in the 20s of offensive rating, just to give a kind of an idea. So 20s is pretty damn high. I would say that the 07 Patriots are a pretty damn good offense. And the 2023 Patriots were a negative 8.5 on their offensive rating, and their defense was a 0.6. So their defense was a little bit better than nothing, and I'd say that's pretty accurate. And their offense was atrocious. And this season, as with what I had seen and what I had kind of understood to be the case, per the same rating system, their offense has gotten better. It's a negative 6.7, so it's still not great, but it is significantly better than last year. but their defense has dropped off by 1.5 that's 2.7 points. My bad. Going from positives to negatives here. Negative 2.1 is the defensive rating. And the 2023 offensive rating is the worst in team history. And that was Belichick's last year. So we have never had an offensive rating worse than negative 8.5. Negative 6.7 is like bottom 5, but it's not the second worst. So we have pretty vastly improved. And then this year, the negative 2.1 defensive rating is the Patriots' worst defensive rating since 1995. So that was around the time when Belichick came in, a couple years after that. So it's pretty telling what Belichick was able to do. And I'm on the coach side of things, I'm sad that he's gone. On the GM side of things, good riddance.
Yeah, facts, honestly. So for the simple rating system, is like 0 an average? Is 0 bad? Like, 'cause there's certainly negative ones here. So like, is 0 meant to be the signifier of bad, or is 0 the signifier of average?
0 is league average. So the rating system is basically how good are you compared to the league average. It takes into account your margin of victory, your strength of schedule, and your home field advantage. So basically it's if you're a positive 20, you're really damn good winning games by margin of victory and strength of schedule. So you should win a game against the league average team by 20, I think is what that means if your offense is rated that.
Okay. Gotcha.
At least that's my understanding of it. In the comments, if you somehow work for PFR and are watching our video and want to clarify that, that'd be wonderful, because there's not like a concrete definition of it, but that's my understanding at least.
All right.
And with the knowledge that our defense is getting worse, our offense is getting better, but also the league we play in and the teams we play, offense needs to be pretty damn strong while having a decent enough defense, I think, is the way to go, especially with a quarterback on a rookie contract where you want to capitalize. Defense wins championships. We all know that, and the Chiefs have a really strong defense. They're, doing pretty well. But I think that it would be really nice if the Patriots could have a lethal offense and then just get by on defense, kind of like the Lions are doing, which is something that I really enjoy watching. So I guess this is kind of from my personal, I want to enjoy the games more, so I don't want it to be defensive and technical success, but offensive struggles. So I think we need to pray that T. Higgins is available in free agency, because that would be a perfect fit for what we need on offense. And then we are projected to have the first overall pick based on the remaining schedule and what the models think are who's going to win games. So there's a chance that we get number 1 overall. If we do, it's Travis Hunter every day of the week, because we also need DBs. Our corners outside of Christian Gonzalez are shaky. Jonathan Jones is getting older and he's not amazing. Marcus Jones is a good gadget guy, but he's not like a amazing corner or anything. And so if we could get Travis, we could have some receiver production from him, ideally with T. Higgins as well. So he would be like a really good wide receiver too, and play in some offensive sets, maybe not all of them, and then also utilize him on defense. And I think that the Patriots would be one of few teams that would really want to utilize him on both sides of the ball, rather than just being like, no, you're just going to be a corner for us, which is where I feel like he would move for some teams, where it would be, you're going to be a corner and we'll have a couple of offensive sets drawn up for you. I feel like with the Patriots, it would be very much, you're going to be in on 70% of offensive plays and 80% of defensive plays. So we're going to use you on both sides of the ball for a majority of the time.
I have opinions on that. So I feel like if you're taking first overall, there might not be the, want to put the 80 snaps, which is a very low snap count if you have him playing those percentage, but let's say 80 to 100 snaps a game on the first overall pick's body. Wear and tear wise, I think that you're kind of going to be, especially coming off of 12-week college football seasons, with extended bowl games, what have you, there's kind of a bigger jump in snap count, and overall the length of which the player would need to stay healthy. I would prefer to just see a straight switch to DB because, like you mentioned, with certain teams, he would definitely be worked into offensive packages. I feel that, seeing these offensive simple rating systems, I don't think your offense is creative enough to utilize him correctly in those moments if you were to make it a every now and then thing. I get the point, though, with needing offensive and defensive production to go up. You would want to see him be used in both. I think that at that point, the managing of his snap count would get a little muddied with where you're like putting him in, when you're putting him in, and what drives he's out, what drives he's in. That you would kind of just want to put him on one side and not have to do all of that extra like jumping through hurdles. But I definitely see like an avenue of which, you have a nice bye week middle of the year and he's going to be grinding that whole first start and then take a real nice bye week, grind the whole rest of it out and get those high snap counts and stay healthy through it all.
So definitely let us know what you want the Patriots to do if you have any opinions on that in the offseason, who you hope might hit free agency, who you hope we might draft. And let us know your thoughts on Travis Hunter as well down in the comments, whether you think he'll play both sides of the ball or whether you think he'll be pigeonholed and drafted for his versatility and then not used for it. So if you are here just for this Patriots segment, appreciate you watching. Go check out the full podcast. It'll drop in a day. And if you are here for the podcast itself, then let's get into stocks. So looking at my stocks here, the Bucks won, the Rams won, the Texans won, and the Bengals lost, unfortunately. I honestly don't think I will be making any moves. The Bucks' upcoming schedule is the only thing I really care to look at, but they play the Raiders this week, so I'm not like concerned about that at all. The Rams I have not made any money on. The Texans I have not made enough money on, and the Bengals I am currently losing money on. So I am not super keen on moving off of anybody. And we had talked about last week, you had bought the Jaguars, and I was like, I'm going to give them a week because I don't think they're going to win this week, and they'll be a little cheaper. Mm-hmm. They did lose. They are a little cheaper, but Trevor Lawrence is injured, so I'm not buying them.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. Well, if you won't be making any moves, I'm looking at the Jaguars, right? I'm looking at what happened last week. And I'm also looking at the fact that Mac Jones came in and had a decent little stat line, and he's played decent for them. So, at this point, I'm going to rock with it. It was a low enough price point where I'm not going to like, I lost $75. I'm going to just drop this. I'm going to stick with that. And then I've got, the Ravens. I've got two of them. They lost, but, I still have that belief that they're not going to just lose a bunch more. They're not going to keep dropping them. The Packers coming up on this week, they're playing the Lions. They're probably, they're on the cusp of, after this week, they would play a little bit, less difficult than the Lions, who are the top seed. But I still don't think that they will be concrete enough to stick with. So I'm actually going to be selling my Packers, which is worth $750. I bought them in at $600, so a little $150 boost there. And I am going to go ahead and I'm only going to put my bank up to $700 because, and as you know, I just sold that for $750. So add my $50 over to the $550 in my bank. Now I have $600 to spend, and that money is going to be spent. No. The money was not what I thought it was. I have $800 in my bank because I'm spending $500 on buying two Panthers stocks. Bryce Young has come back a completely different player. And I have hope that they may not win all of them down the stretch, but they're now a big enough upset watch. They're now like the spoilers, those trap games. Like they're coming into games being the underdogs, and they do stand a chance at making those little wins. So kind of taking a risk with the Panthers and the Jaguars at the end of the year here, just trying to maximize money to be in the bank account. Obviously, I've spread my money. I've kept a little less in my bank than you, and you've kept a steady net worth with a high amount in your bank, whereas I'm kind of risking more. At this point, I think the 800s is what's going to stay in my bank, and I'm just going to see where all of the rest of the pieces fall for the rest of the year. So maybe not a whole lot of moves going forward, but definitely I've got some low risk, high reward options, and then I've got some high risk, medium like movement I'll be seeing with the Ravens and the Niners. Just hoping to see them get back on track. But with that,
the whole like making like my net worth going up and yours not being as high was like a couple weeks ago that flipped. You were outgaining me this entire season. You were making a little bit more than I was.
Yeah, I think a few weeks ago I started buying more stocks instead of leaving it in the bank, going down to like 100, going down to 500-ish, and then I've then dropped, about 100 each week for the past couple. So,
okay. Well, we can get right on into Pick'ems then, if you are ready for that. And last week, you know what? I haven't done a Pick'ems recap in a little while. I'm just going to take the floor here.
Go ahead.
Last week, I went on a heater. I went 14-2 to bring my total for the season up to 130-65 with an 11-2 lock record after my lock hit. You went 11-5. Sorry. Mm-hmm. To bring your total up to 124-71 with your lock record. Your lock also hitting at 8-5 on the season.
You've been on a heater with those locks, man. Damn.
Yeah, just a little bit. And I did break the rule just a tiny bit. It was very, very minute. I picked the same team twice, but I missed it, I think, both times. I missed it the second time I picked it. But a complete accident. Did not do it on purpose. And we can get into the pick'ems for this week with the game of the week being on Thursday night. The Packers heading to Detroit and playing your Detroit Lions. I've got the Lions in this one. It's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a really tough game. I just hope that the Lions' scrapped together defense can hold up against the Packers.
Yeah. I think even our scrapped together defense luckily does still have our 2 interception leaders being healthy. So hopefully Jordan Love keeps that Favre mentality heading into this one. And we can get a couple takeaways. I've got the Lions in this one as well. Next, we've got the Jets at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are playing this one at home. They're not having to go anywhere that could be cold. I've got the Dolphins in this one. The Jets are just... The Jets gonna jet. All right, so I've got the Dolphins here.
Yeah, Dolphins are on an absolute heater right now. So I've got them continuing that heater with losses, of course. But they've been doing really well. So I've
heater as in they have to stand by the heater because they don't perform well in cold games. That's
exactly.
I see what you were going.
Then Falcons at Vikings. I'm not a huge fan of what the Falcons have been up to, and the Vikings are in a position where they need to win games because their division is so strong that they are battling it out for second place at 10-2. So, or something like that. Crazy high record for battling out second and third place. But I've got the Vikings in this one.
Yeah, I got the Vikings. You bring up the battling. The Falcons are battling to not lose the number 1 spot, but I feel that they're on the wrong trajectory there. So with the Vikings not really having to deal with a pass rush, I'm hoping Sam Darnold doesn't get tricked too much by the back end of the Falcons, and that the Vikings can pull out this one, just because it's really fun being in a division this strong. The Bears fell off, so I want the rest of the division to stay strong because it makes us look better. But I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. Then we've got the Saints at the Giants. I picked the Saints to beat the Rams last week because I was like, maybe they keep some steam going with them after the bye week. That didn't happen, but they did play well against the Rams team. They kept it close. And so I've got the Saints beating the Giants in this one.
Yeah, and this is our shit show of the week, and I also have the Saints beating the Giants in this one. 2 not great teams, but the Saints have shown a little bit more since firing Dennis Allen, so hope to see them continue that for Pick'em's purposes, not for them being Then we get into the Panthers heading to Philly, taking on the Eagles. You said that the Panthers were looking like they could win a couple of games. I really don't think that's the case with this one. So much so, in fact, that this is my lock of the week. I'm taking the Eagles over the Panthers in this one. Have not locked the Eagles yet. I was very happy to see that because I was struggling to find one this week.
I also have not locked the Eagles, but I will not be using my lock this time around. I do believe that this is not one of the weeks that the Panthers will be playing spoiler. The Eagles are just performing very, very well. It's not nearly the same as the Panthers did really well against the Chiefs, who haven't been performing really well, or they did really good against the Buccaneers and went to overtime because the Buccaneers hadn't been looking the same to that point. But I've got the Eagles in this one, not locking it though, despite having the opportunity to lock on the Eagles. I am not doing that. Next up, we've got the Browns at Steelers. I've got the Browns in this one. It's divisional. The Steelers have the home field advantage. I get it, but the Browns, I think, are the type of team, especially after what we saw Monday night against the Broncos, that I think that they are the team that's going to, steal some wins within their division, but that's about as far as they're going to take it. And I'm going to go with the Browns in this one.
They're going to steal some wins?
Whoa.
Oh my God, in the Steel City? Whoa. I disagree. I got the Steelers in this one. No explanation. Then on to the Raiders at the Bucks. This is one that I would have locked if I hadn't already locked the Buccaneers earlier this year. But I've got the Bucks over the Raiders in this one pretty handedly.
Yeah, in this one I also have the Buccaneers. Shocker, it's still not my lock of the week, despite having the opportunity to lock this team. So, you amazement, I know. You can go ahead and theorize on what left I have that I could be locking this week. But moving on, we got the Jaguars playing the Titans, and the Titans are at home, and the Jaguars have a hurt quarterback. We didn't really touch on that, but shout out Trevor Lawrence being carted off. Hope you get well soon. I've got the Titans in this one. Yeah. No lock.
Me too. I'm really waiting for where your lock's going to be. Then Seahawks at Cardinals. This is a divisional matchup between two teams in a division that is very much up for grabs. I've got the Seahawks in this one. Couldn't really tell you why. I like what the Cardinals are doing. I think they're looking real good this season, but I got a gut feeling about the Seahawks. I also have picked a lot of home teams, so I gotta switch that up a little bit.
I'm staying very true to myself in terms of picking Cardinals games. Last week I got one correct. That was a shocker. It really came down to the wire with the Vikings pulling off a comeback on that one. But I'm going to pick the Cardinals here again. Maybe I can go 2 for 2 in the past 2 weeks. Doubt it. I bet the Seahawks will win, and this will be a nice little boost for your PickEms and not for mine. Then next up, we've got the Bills at Rams. I've got the Bills in this one. The Rams always play with a home field disadvantage. They don't have a whole lot of homers there. And I've got the Bills. I haven't locked them yet this year. And I won't be... I'm just kidding. I will. I'm hitting the lock this week on the Bills over the Rams at SoFi.
Yep, I agree. Bills over Rams for sure. They are one of the best teams in the league. Most definitely. It's them and the Lions right up there for me. I think those are the two Super Bowl contenders. And as great as Saquon has been, I think Josh Allen's probably MVP frontrunner after that game.
Yeah.
On Sunday night. Then we got Bears at 49ers. The 49ers have been really not doing great. They also just threw CMC and Jordan Mason on IR, so they are down to Isaac Guerendo. I will be pushing Isaac Guerendo agendas. He is in line for MVP now that he gets a start, and he will break the single-season rushing record in the last 4 games of the year. And among other things, he will he will bring world peace,
the world hunger, get out of here.
World hunger, right? He's solving that. It's gone already, homelessness, everybody's got homes now thanks to Isaac Guerendo. But with
which is much needed in San Francisco.
With all of that said, I'm taking the Bears.
Yep.
I've got the Bears bouncing back in this one against a 49ers team that's had some troubles, and the interim boost. The interim boost is carrying them.
Yeah, interim boost has been strong this season, so I'm also picking the Bears thanks to that interim boost. Yeah, looking forward to that one. Then we've got the Chiefs. The Chargers going to play the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I've got the Chiefs in this one, home field advantage. They refuse to lose games, especially when the opponents make silly, goofy little mistakes. So I have the Chiefs winning this one.
Yeah, I pick the Chiefs because it means that I'm not disappointed when they win, so I will continue to do so. Got them at home. If they win and I pick them, I'm like, well, at least I get another
I gotta
W
pick
in
'em.
the Pick'ems records. Yeah. I may not enjoy it very much, but I'm like, well, it's another plus in the statistics. And then Monday Night Football, we've got Bengals at Cowboys. This is another game that, I mean, could be great from the Bengals' offensive side of the ball, but ultimately I don't think it's going to be that great of a game.
Yeah.
But I do have the Bengals in this one over the Cowboys, over their weak team. Somebody's got to knock some sense into them. They've been talking crazy after beating the Giants. So,
Yeah, I've got the Bengals in this one too. I don't think it'll be a great game. I'm not sure how the Bengals defense has been losing them games all year, so I'm not sure if they will even manage to really stop the anemic Cowboys offense that well, but you really hope they do. So I've got the Bengals in that one, and that just about wraps us up here.
do you have any words of wisdom or wisdom for these people to lead or live their lives by?
Skibbity Riz, Ohio Phantom Tax.
Give it to 'em. Yeah, you get it. That'll get all the kids invested in the podcast for sure.
If you enjoyed that brain rot, hit subscribe. We certainly have so much more brain rot coming in the future.
Our brains rot when we record.
And with that, deuces.
Deuces.